In this episode, I share personal examples of taking that first step and starting something new and unfamiliar, including my own story of how I pressed record, did a terrible job, but it led to getting an unusual gift from a famous celebrity. Welcome to Unveiled Life and Godliness, the show where we explore next level living and pull back the veil to the beautiful and miraculous within the day-to-day through a God-infused life. This is a podcast of Paola Lane Magazine. Get ready for insightful conversations, real-life examples and stories, interesting interviews, and actionable tips to take you to the next level. I'm your host, Laura Prather, and the founder and editor of Paola Lane Magazine, and I'm thrilled to have you on this journey with me. Every dream starts with a first step, so start with what's in your hand. Everything great starts small. Visions and dreams aren't just for the young, but they can only be birthed in the young at heart. We're never too old to ask questions or start over. We can never become too wise to be wrong. Life is crazy interesting, so let's soak it all up. Let's be humble enough to learn from others and courageous enough to share our journey. The wise learn to take more time to enjoy the view, talk to the trees, and feel the rain on their face. Your life will be amazing beyond your imagination if you say yes to God. True peace and joy are found in a God-infused life, as God promises to give us everything we need for life and godliness if we listen and follow Him. Welcome to this beautiful day, my new friend. I'm absolutely delighted to share this new podcast with you and am genuinely honored that you would choose to spend the next few moments of your precious time with me. I'm Laura, the host of Unveiled and the founder and editor of Paola Lane Magazine. I live in Missouri with my family and have a spectacular view of Table Rock Lake. We are so blessed. I have my home studio here in Kimberling City, and it's a small town right on the lake. If you ever get a chance to come visit, it's a wonderful place to boat and fish and enjoy summer lake life. Our children are grown, so it's just me, my husband, Rob, and my little Boston Terrier Chihuahua, Keely. 2 years ago, I embarked on a new adventure. Like Bilbo Baggins of The Hobbit, I was reluctant at first to dive in, but after a few nudges, I found myself running off with excitement, declaring, "I'm going on an adventure." The hardest part of doing or creating something new is the first step. I think I've rewritten this script at least 3 times. Why is taking that first step so hard? The saying, "do it scared," is right on. For years, I thought about doing a podcast, but was completely intimidated. Observing all the great and popular podcasts out there stirred up a lot of insecurities, and I really felt like I couldn't do it. We hear that we're supposed to be ourselves in all that we do, but how do you be yourself when you're still discovering yourself? It's humbling to think that one has to start with 0 listeners. Just my words floating out in space until one day they find a place to land in a new friend's ears. It's not easy starting. In the addition to the magazine that I have, I also am the owner of Jot and Tittle Vintage Typewriters. When we started, my husband does all the repairs. We knew nothing. Zippo. we still aren't close in our knowledge and skill in comparison to many others in the typewriter field, the vintage typewriter field specifically. But after a few years, we carved out a solid mark within the typewriter community. I started with one email, one YouTube video, and one post in a new group that I started on Facebook. 5 years later, all of these are thriving, including our business. We sell more than we can fix, actually. But all three, the email, YouTube, the Facebook group, echoed like a sneeze in an empty warehouse when I first started. It was a messy noise in an empty space. Last year, out of the blue, I received a vintage typewriter in the mail, and it was a total surprise. And can you guess who it was from? It was a gift from Tom Hanks out of his own personal collection. Yes, the Tom Hanks. To say that I was blown away would be an understatement. It was signed, the typewriter itself was signed, and it came with a letter, all because I started scared with a tutorial video on my kitchen table, really bad lighting, and very little knowledge of what I was talking about. Mr. Hanks, if you happen to hear this, thank you again. This typewriter will always be a treasure to our family. Is there something that you are putting off because you dread that first step? Do you need to submit that piece of art to a gallery or a show, write your first article, launch a business idea, or maybe introduce yourself to someone who will become a new friend or contact? I feel you. It is so hard to take that first step. I'm certainly not as professional, confident, or as organized as I wish I was in regards to this podcast. I'm not sure what to say, but just as an artist stares at a blank page, we all have to start with a mark. The artists start with just a little mark. And so we also need to start with our own mark, even if it's ugly and messy. As part of my creative inspiration for my magazine and partly for my own enjoyment and relaxation, I regularly take art courses. So far, every one of my instructors starts with a random mark or scribble to break the ice. They keep scribbling until they find a flow or an image begins to take shape. The end product rarely, if ever, reveals that first mark. What I learned is that even though the first mark is covered and not visible in the end product, it is no less important than the visible aspect of the finished painting or collage. It is those first uncertain strokes that are what set the stage, become the foundation, are used to find the flow or reveal the vision. I've learned to never disregard the first steps, even though I may procrastinate in getting started. It's the scary step, ugly first try, the messing up, which is critical in finding the beauty of the vision. It was so nice to connect with you today, my friend. I hope you are inspired to go out and take a first step in something. I am rooting for you. Go out and have an adventure, and I'll see you along the way. If you'd like to know more about that Tom Hanks story, I wrote an article in one of my Paola Lane Magazine issues. It's issue number 6. It's called By Hand. And I wrote it with another typewriter repair person. He owns Iron Fox typewriters out on the East Coast. We wrote the article together, and we also included many other individuals who received a gift from Tom Hanks. And they're all very, very small micro businesses. They just work on typewriters in their home, and they've all received a gift from Tom Hanks. It's a great story. I encourage you to go read it. Again, that's issue number 6, By Hand. You can find it at paolalane.com/shop. And as well, if you visit paolalane.com/podcasts, you'll see a list of the podcasts, and then you can find any links that were referenced in any of the episodes that I record. All right, thanks so much again for joining me in this episode about breaking the ice. Please come back for episode number 2 as we dive deeper into rediscovering dreams and visions that are buried in our heart. Before I wrap up, I have a very special freebie exclusively for my podcast listeners. It's a free digital copy of my very first magazine issue, number 1, for the beauty of the earth. It is still so impactful to me. I absolutely loved it, and I'm eager to share the digital copy with you. So head over to paolalane.com/read for free. There's no spaces in that. It's just read for free. Again, that's paolalane.com/read for free. And you will gain access to this exclusive bonus content for my podcast listeners. It's my way of saying thank you for being here and for your support. As I close out today's episode, I just want to go back and remind you of what I said at the very beginning, that every dream starts with a first step. And to start with, it's in your hand, and everything great starts small. Your favorite corporations or businesses or celebrities or whoever, they started with an idea on a napkin somewhere. That was their first step. And maybe it was just a phone call after that, or your favorite artist, or your favorite athlete. Whatever it is, you don't have to become a celebrity to make an impact in this world. You just have to do something small. When I started my vintage typewriter business 5 years ago, I had no idea that somebody like Tom Hanks would even know my name, and much less send me a gift. We're still a very, very small business, but our reach has gone really far. But even if Tom Hanks never knew my name and never sent me a gift, that business has had a huge impact on our lives and on the lives of other people that I've met through my email list or our Facebook group. We have a typewriters group that is now many thousand people, and it's managed by others. There's a huge impact that has happened out of that. You never know, even if one person is impacted, or maybe it's just your own family. It's worth breaking that ice, taking that first step, and looking to see where your small beginning will lead you. It could lead you to something that's far greater than you could possibly imagine. Thank you for joining me today on Unveiled, Life and Godliness. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to share it with a friend, subscribe, leave me a review, and remember, you can always visit my website at paolalane.com for more free content and to learn more about Paola Lane Magazine, as well as all the information and resources you need for the Unveiled podcast. Our podcast is published twice a month, and until next time, may your life become increasingly unveiled through God-infused living.